institutions. To run an institution is one thing, but prior to that, to build one, especially with so many regulatory compliances that you have to follow, and to keep up that standard is not a small thing at all. So to have a vision, to execute it, and above all, direction or a guidance given by his father, who himself had contributed so much to this country, is with the bar set high, trying to compete and achieve. And the kind of words I've heard about Sri Vinaya Hegde makes me feel that so much is dependent on each one of us to emulate the work that he's done. And I recall the words of Honorable Prime Minister on the Red Fort when he said about how Viksit Bharat is to be achieved with duties and responsibilities also, not just rights. So today our Indian citizens understand that it has got to be a massive yajna, like a very big activity which all of us will have to jointly undertake in building India to reach that level. And in that, each one of our contribution will be certainly important. And like one of the speakers, Captain, I think, said, much before Viksit Bharat became part of our language, our narration, our lexicon, by his action, Vinaya Hegde has actually shown what building nation is all about. Give good education. Bring education back to your towns. Get people to contribute towards the society. Make education and health available for all, affordable for all. And make sure your region is kept in mind as you build for India. These are all implicit messages when action of this nature is undertaken, and therefore any dedication or any celebratory word is mentioned about Vinaya Hegde, at least I will be conscious of every word because I would have to emulate that and live that kind of a life. Floral tribute is one thing, just verbal tribute is another, but to contribute a tribute to a person of this stature means that every word will have to be imbued into ourselves and take it forward. So it's a great, profound honor to deliver this Nitte Vinaya Hegde Oration 2026. Standing here in Mangaluru, a land that symbolizes the blend of entrepreneurial spirit and deep-rooted values, I am reminded of the life of Sri Vinaya Hegde Avaru. He was a man who didn't just build institutions, he built futures. As a son of illustrious Justice K.S. Hegde, he could have rested in laurels, but he chose the tougher path of a pioneer transforming the educational opportunities in coastal Karnataka. I actually liked the way Captain Brajesh Chauta, Honorable MP, said in Kannada. I may not be able to say it in exactly the same words. He said it's not only that he was a hero for the Karavali region, the coastal region, or for Mangaluru, but he also became a hero, and also he contributed to the building of Karnataka and looked at the national level building. Am I right, Captain? You said something of that order. I think it is that which is the spirit of what Vinaya Hegde has done for this region. Not only Mangaluru, not only Karavali, but also Karnataka and the nation building. And therefore it is a very significant contribution, beginning from his own native village. So he chose the tougher path of a pioneer, transforming the educational opportunities in coastal Karnataka. Nitte, deemed to be university, which he helped build into a symbol of excellence in this region, stands as his most eloquent memorial. I congratulate this university for keeping his legacy alive through this oration. Today, I speak on a theme that is not merely aspirational, but civilizational in its scope. Viksit Bharat for 2047 is not a slogan at all. And just for us to juggle our memory a bit, it's not too far away. 2047 is not at all too far away. When we speak of 1947 and say, oh my God, 75, 80 years ago we got independence. But when you talk of 2047, it's just 20 years from now. Add one more year if you want. Just 20 years. So we have a huge amount of work to be done with all of us to contribute. So it's not a slogan, it's a national resolve. It is indeed India's tryst with destiny, renewed, reimagined, and re-energized. The transformation towards Viksit Bharat 2047 rests on structural reforms, human capital, and institutional excellence. Before I speak of India's future, allow me to honor the city's past, because it is from the roots of such places that the tree of Viksit Bharat shall draw its deepest nourishment. There's no place more fitting to discuss the resurgence of India than here in Mangaluru. Mangaluru is not just a port, it's a civilizational bridge from the Gangas of Talakadu and the Kadambas of Vaijayantipura to the mighty Chalukyas of Badami and the Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra. Mangaluru flourished as a crucible of dynasties, a center of refined culture and maritime prowess. Roman merchant ships would anchor off these shores to load their hulls with the most precious commodities known to the ancient world, black pepper, Yavana Priya, the black gold of antiquity, cardamom, cinnamon, turmeric, teak, sandalwood, and gems. Roman historian Pliny lamented in his 1st century CE, that is, the centuries that we are living in, that India was draining the Roman treasury every year. Think of that for a moment. 2000 years ago, this coastline was the commercial nerve of the globe. The wealth of this region was so legendary that Greek and Roman merchants would risk their lives to reach these shores faster. The Chennakeshava temple in Beluru, the Hoysaleshwara temple in Halabedu, if you have actually ever stood before these temples and watched the afternoon sun play upon their intricately carved surfaces, you will understand what I mean when I say that India has always been a civilization of superlatives. And then came, of course, the glory of Vijayanagara, perhaps the greatest empire of the medieval age, whose capital Hampi was described by Domingo Pes, the Portuguese traveler, who visited 1520 as a city as large as Rome and a very beautiful sight to behold. So the story of Mangaluru is in many ways the story of India, a story of resilience, a story of openness, a story of aspiration, and Mangaluru today represents the seamless blend of tradition and modernity. And it actually reminds us that India's journey of becoming developed is not built, it's not so much about imitation, it is about rediscovery, rediscovering our strengths, rediscovering our confidence, and rediscovering our place in the world. So it's a continuation of a journey that took place here on this very coast 2000 years ago onwards. So there are moments in the life of a nation when ambition must rise to meet destiny, when vision must transcend policy, and purpose must transcend politics. Today, as we gather here to reflect upon Viksit Bharat 2047, we are not merely discussing an economy milestone, but we are articulating a civilizational aspiration. India is the oldest continuous civilization on earth. We gave the intellectual contribution that form the bedrock of modern civilization. We were, for most of recorded in history, the world's largest economy. I think we should repeat that sentence and believe in it. We were, for the most part of recorded history, the world's largest economy. And when I say this, I actually have goosebumps. At a time when we are talking about Viksit Bharat, at a time when we are recalling about our glorious past, and of course not so glorious past as well, the urge, and I would again go back to that Red Fort speech of the Honorable Prime Minister, the urge should be to get out of our colonial mindset. The urge is to believe in our glorious past. The urge is also to believe in our own youth and their capacities. And the urge should be to believe in us. Our own epics tell us that when a solid contribution is made or is being made, when you have people around you who are naysayers, the psychological play that it can have on people who can achieve things is so critical that it can undermine the very objective with which you're moving. You know, the Shalya episode in Mahabharata repeatedly tells you how even an able soldier, a master of archery, just becomes helpless because this man goes on telling you, you're useless, you can't do this, you can't achieve this, what are you trying? Whereas he was the best of the students to his guru, but he couldn't. So if the urge has to be to build, to remember the past, to build with your youth, the youth who have that skill and the potential for entrepreneurship, which is what Vinaya Hegde is all about. If you have naysayers around you, it is now not just being an entrepreneur, it is now not just being a citizen to build our India, and it is now not just being, wanting to aspire to be there. It is also to learn to just become deaf when these naysayers are around you. And it is almost sometimes making me feel, is it deliberate to undermine India from growing? We should keep ourselves wary of such a development. So India is I would want to underline this fact, India is the oldest continuous civilization on earth. We gave the intellectual contributions that form the bedrock of modern civilization. We were, for most of recorded history, and I repeat, the world's largest economy. When Sri Lord Rama, after 14 years of exile, stood at the shores of the ocean, the eastern side, and prepared to return to Ayodhya, he uttered these immortal words to Lakshmana. Janani janma bhumischa swargadapi gariyasi. Mother and motherland are greater even than heaven. It's Sri Rama's words. And that's what Vinaya Hegde has done. He's come back to his own place, built it up, and built it with a vision. And therefore, that's where you feel whether he repeats these words of Sri Rama or whether each one of us repeat these words of Rama, it is in our DNA. It is for us to build. And periodically we have great men and women who give us that message back again. If Rama did it, here you have Vinaya who's given the same thing. Work for our country. There's nothing better than that as a heaven. And therefore, each one of us will have to contribute to Viksit Bharat. Viksit Bharat, a developed India by 2047, the centenary of our independence, is not a political slogan, as I said earlier. Conceived in a meeting room in Delhi? No, it is not. It is the living expression of this ancient obligation that we shall remember our motherland. We shall dedicate ourselves for our motherland. We shall contribute to our motherland. And every citizen, therefore, like the way Nitte aims, every citizen should be that particular individual who contributes to India's growth. So let's be honest about the weight of that question, that it is a living expression of this ancient obligation. In 1700 CE, the Common Era, India's share of global GDP was about approximately 24%. China's was approximately 22%. Then came colonialism, 1947, when we finally achieved independence. India's share of the world GDP had fallen to less than 4%. Where is 24 and where is 1947, where we contributed just 4%? 200 years of colonial rule had not merely impoverished us. The destruction was as much as of the spirit as of the economy. And that is why when I added the naysayers and their contribution to not moving forward, it is this which is completely, the spirit was the one which was shattered during colonialism, that you may not be able to move forward. And that is that colonial mindset which we need to get out. So the first 7 decades of independence were spent rebuilding with great difficulty, with great debates, and with many errors, but also with moments of magnificent achievements. We are no longer sleeping. India is awake. It's a truth. India is awake and it's moving forward. And when India is awake, the world takes notice. Today, we are the world's fastest growing major economy. We are the nation that has 1.4 billion people, a median age of 28 years. What a youthful country. So much is lying in the hands of our youth. So everything that we do will have to have a bearing on them, a positive bearing on them. The world's largest educated workforce is here, and an ancient entrepreneurial spirit that no colonial interlude could extinguish. Now, as we approach the centenary of our independence, 2047, we face a choice. We can grow at the pace of the ordinary. We can allow the middle income trap to stall our movement of progress, as it has stalled so many developing nations. Or we can choose the extraordinary. We can choose to be among the top, among world's top economies. We can choose to give every Indian child clean water, good quality education, affordable health care, and a shot at prosperity. That's the choice for Viksit Bharat. And it is for us to make. Nobody is compelling us. So where do we stand factually? I'll just give you a few data. These are hard facts. IMF projects India's GDP to grow at 6.5%, 2027. That's a FY. Making it the fastest growing major economy in the world for many consecutive years. Over 25 crore Indians have been lifted out of multidimensional poverty between 2013-14 and 22-23. One of the most remarkable poverty reduction achievements in human history. India's forex, thank you, that can be loud, it's all our efforts. India's forex reserves stood at over 700 billion, among the highest in the world and sufficient to cover about 11 months of our imports. India's digital public infrastructure, the JAM Trinity, enabled direct benefit transfers of 50 lakh crores, saving the government 4.31 lakh crores in leakages. We could stop the leakages of 4.31 lakh crores. India's unified payment interface, the platform, processed over, just listen to this number, it astonishes a lot of my overseas listeners, and I'm sure it will astonish us as well. The UPI platform processed over 241 billion transactions annually. Billion. With a value exceeding 314 lakh crores in 25-26 alone. India accounts for 49% of all real-time digital payment transactions globally. And India is the world's third largest startup ecosystem with over 2 lakh DPIIT recognized startups, including over 100 unicorns. India's renewable energy capacity stands nearly at 280 gigawatts, making it the world's third largest in renewable energy capacity. PM Awas Yojana has delivered over 4 crore affordable homes to the poor, with sanitation coverage rising from 39% in 2014 to 100% under Swachh Bharat Yojana. PM Kisan has provided direct income support to nearly 9.5 crore farmer families, with over 4.27 lakh crores transferred directly to their accounts. The number of IITs has grown from 7 in 2014 to 23 today. Universities from 723 then to over 1,100 today. There were 7 aims in 2014, now you have 22 of them. So representing an unprecedented expansion of higher education institutions. All this is only government. Simultaneously in India, there's an education revolution happening in Nitte-like institutions, really standing out to showcase how much India can achieve. India's infrastructure outlay, sometimes many of the developing, emerging market economies ask me, is this real? Is this number real? And I said, you can look into the Comptroller and Auditor General's accounts. India's infrastructure outlay has been brilliant, has shown 6 times growth in a decade from 1.9 lakh crore in 2013-14 to 12.2 lakh crore in 26-27. 12.2 lakh crore, largely borrowed, but borrowed to build assets. So India's successful science revolution conducted the Chandrayaan-3 mission, becoming the first country to land near the lunar South Pole, and has approved the Gaganyaan human space flight program, cementing its status as a space power. So these are not isolated achievements. And why do I have to talk about these achievements now when you've asked me to speak on what is Viksit Bharat? They are the building blocks of a systemic transformation that is happening at a rapid pace. And without this brick layer, the foundational layer, some at higher level, some on a slightly lower level, we will not be able to understand how fast and how much scaling up can be done for 2047. So these are not isolated. And yet, we must not mistake progress for completion of projects. That's not just the story. A developing India cannot be our final destination. Viksit Bharat must be. Why? Because aspirations have changed. Young Indians today do not dream of subsistence. That young lady in the street, even as she's busy with her phone, walking to her college or anywhere else, dreams of excellence. She seeks quality education, world-class healthcare, meaningful employment, and a clean environment. Now, I'm specifying each one of these because these are the goals for my Viksit Bharat. That's the dream of the young girl. She wants to compete globally and succeed confidently because in a rapidly changing global order, economic strength is the bedrock of strategic autonomy. But Viksit Bharat is not about GDP numbers. Viksit Bharat is about something far grander, far more human. It's about Krishika, the farmer, in Kalyana, Karnataka, whose future is assured. It's about the girl in a village in Raichur district who should be able to dream of becoming a scientist, a judge, without anyone telling her that her geography or her gender is her destiny. It's about Mugavira fishermen on the Udupi coast whose ancestors traded with Rome, who should have access to cold storage, the digital market, the insurance, and the respect that his ancient profession deserves. It's about tribal youth in the forests of Dandakaranya, whose community has stewarded India's biodiversity for thousands of years, and finally having a seat at the table of prosperity without surrendering one's identity. So, momentum of the past decade must continue. I'm now coming to the key elements of what makes for Viksit Bharat. The momentum of the past decade must continue, such as investment in infrastructure, expanding digital public goods, more financial inclusion, simple taxation laws, improved direct benefit delivery, and a transparent framework for public expenditure. We need healthy balance sheets of banks and corporates, resilient domestic demand, and even greater role of private sector and entrepreneurs. We must build a fast-growing India where every young person feels that hard work can lead to a better life. We reform, and the reform agenda must also continue. Government should be an enabler, not a roadblock. We should move away from controlling people to supporting people. Good infrastructure changes lives. Roads, railways, airports, ports, internet, power, public transport, schools, hospitals. Connect people to opportunity. When goods and people move faster, businesses grow. When villages and small towns are connected, young people do not have to leave everything behind to dream big. I understand Captain Chowta is running a campaign saying, "Come back to Namma Uru." Am I right? Which is what Vinaya Hegde has done, and which is what this region is known for. And that is the connectivity advantage. Once your infrastructure takes you to the last mile, reaches your villages, coming back to Namavuru won't be difficult. But that's part of the aim of the travel towards Viksit Bharat. Manufacturing, again, an entrepreneur who turned to become a philanthropist and educationist. I'm standing on that platform, celebrating his achievements and saying, manufacturing creates steady jobs and national resilience. To compete globally, Make in India must mean high quality and efficiency. We cannot become developed by just buying things from others. We have to build them here in India and be Atmanirbhar. Therefore, we are making it easier for MSMEs and manufacturing companies to grow by fixing logistics, lowering costs, and ensuring that there is ease of doing business. I spoke about youth. Repeatedly I said our youth need they need good education, public health, and so on. Particularly women are the drivers of Viksit Bharat 2047. Young Indians need good education, practical skills, jobs, startup opportunities, and confidence. Viksit Bharat will not be built by treating women and youth as beneficiaries. We cannot patronize them. We need to support them. It will be built when they lead us. That is why we brought Nari Shakti Vandan Adhinayam in April to ensure more women become leaders without delay. Unfortunately, for some political parties, they chose to block the fast tracking of these rights in Parliament. They even celebrated the non-passing of the amendment, which hurt me, and I couldn't have words to say there. It was so shocking that they could deny this fast-tracked empowerment of women. Technology and AI must solve real Indian problems. They should help students, doctors, teachers, courts, small businesses and workers. India should not simply use technology built for someone else's priorities. We must build technology that speaks our languages, understands our society, and protect people's rights. Innovation must be bold, but also safe and responsible. We are in peak summer, and every time anyone living in this region would say it's getting worse every year. India must grow, but it must grow responsibly. Clean energy, public transport, water security, waste management, green jobs, and climate resilient farming are all part of our future. But climate action must be fair. Poor families and developing countries cannot be asked to carry unfair burden. Viksit Bharat must be Green Bharat, practical Bharat, competitive Bharat, and just Bharat. Our constitution and laws serve as a guide, but a great nation needs more than just laws. It needs character. It was so good when I heard one of our earlier speakers tell as to how character building, responsibility, and also commitment towards the nation were part of the vision of Vinaya Hegde. And that is why in his part of, building good citizens, he had made a lot of attempts. I think it is very important that great nation needs more than just laws, it needs character. Rights always come with responsibilities. We need a society that values facts over noise, honesty over shortcuts, and service over entitlement. Our character, hard work, and unity will decide on how India rises. The nation cannot lead the world by copying others. India does not have to choose between technology and tradition. It should balance both. Yoga, Sanskrit, regional languages, festivals, crafts, cinema, music, design, digital art, and creative industries are part of India's soft power. Viksit Bharat must be modern in infrastructure, confident in innovation, and deeply rooted in values. The world must respect not only India's economic strength, but India's story. And that's the story which attracts a lot of people. Even now, we should strengthen it. The Rig Veda extols, Krinvanto Vishwam Aryam. Let us make the whole world noble. I hope no interpretative differences arise in who's Arya, who's not. Krinvanto Vishwam Aryam is let us make the whole world noble. India is no longer standing on the sidelines of global affairs. We are helping shape solutions on trade, technology, climate, security, health, supply chains, and development. Vishwamitra means being a trusted partner while putting India's interests first. And you would recall, even as I say this, that that's exactly what is happening in this year, in the last year, in the coming year, I would think, in the light of the global VUCA, as they say, volatility, uncertainty, and all the variants of unpredictability which is there. So we are putting our interest above all and making sure Indians don't suffer for want of something even if it is a matter which we import 100%. So, Prime Minister and the Government of India are making sure that Indians put India's interest on the top and not get, agitated on any issue. So, Vishwamitra means being a trusted partner while putting India's interests first. And in doing this, we are not forgetting our immediate neighborhood. We are helping, we are making sure that our immediate neighborhood, particularly those landlocked countries, are taken care of. And some of them, even if they are not landlocked, if they have requests to make, we are standing by them, not as a big brother, but making sure that our neighborhood is looked at as a Vishwamitra. We stand as their friend. So a Viksit Bharat must have the confidence to work with the world. Viksit Bharat should have the confidence, speak for the global south, protect its citizens, and help write the rules that will shape the future. So you've been very patient. I'm coming to my conclusion. We have 900 million people under the age of 35, which is 65% of our population. This is the largest concentration of young human potential in the history of our species. This is a line again I would want you all to grasp in its fullest importance. We have 900 million people under the age of 35, which is 65% of our population, and this is the largest concentration of young human potential in the history of our species. These young people are watching. These young people are watching us. They are impatient. They are ambitious. They have dreams in their hearts. When India is strong, peace is more likely. When India is prosperous, global supply chains are more resilient. When India leads, the world has a model of development that is not extractive. This is very important. When India leads, the world has a model of development that is not extractive, not colonial, not zero-sum. We don't kill the neighbor and, balance it all off like that. No, not zero-sum, but rooted in the oldest wisdom of our traditions, about which we had others speak. That true wealth is shared wealth. The true wealth is shared wealth. And that's the beginning that I started off by saying Vinaya Hegde could have just sat down and enjoyed the prosperity that his father had given him, that his brothers are all supportive of him. No, but he decided to make sure that he would contribute to the society, to nation building. And that's the message. So that true wealth is shared wealth. And this is why Viksit Bharat is not just India's goal, it is humanity's opportunity. A developed, stable, democratic, pluralistic India, the world's largest democracy, a civilizational bridge between East and West, between the global North and the global South, is not just good for India, it is a good thing for the entire planet. Viksit Bharat is not the responsibility of government alone. It is a national partnership between the union, the states, the local governments, entrepreneurs, industry, academia, professionals, civil society, and every citizen. Government can build the platform, but the energy, the ideas, and the discipline of 140 crore Indians will build the Viksit Bharat and will build the nation. Vande Mataram. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Madam, for an insightful and inspiring oration, a thought guided by experience and expressed with such clarity. Your exposition, Viksit Bharat Vision 2047, has instilled clarity, confidence, and a sense of collective purpose and the understanding the direction in which our nation is moving. Now, may I request our Chancellor, Sri Vinay Hegde, to proceed and issue mementos. These mementos, though modest, carry our deep gratitude and respect. Now, I will request them to hand over the memento to Honorable Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman. Now I request Sir Vishal Hegde sir to issue mementos to the Honorable Sri U.T. Kadir. And to Captain Brijesh Chowta. Now we come to the culmination of this program. I now invite Vice Chancellor of Nitte University, Dr. M.S. Muditaya, to propose the vote of thanks.
Very good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. President of this very special event for all of us, Honorable